welcome to A Cup of Conversation on BRT2 TV. My name is Jan Ghazi, and in the studio today I have two very special guests all the way from Melbourne, Australia, here on holiday, but they are originally Turkish Cypriots, and they are two men behind Frozen Cypriots, a very popular page on Facebook. So we're going to talk about their page and about their lives, and I have with me today on the program brothers Eren and Selman Erdogan. First of all, guys, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
It seems like it's going to be a very Erdogan weekend with our programs on Bayrak, with my colleagues Denise Phillips and Engin Dervishar, Vox Pop and the main event. We're going to have a lot of you guys exposed on the TV and radio, so great. It's good to have you here. Now, before we talk about Frozen Cypriots, let's find out about yourselves. Now, you are originally from Lefkoşa.
That's correct.
Nicosia.
That's correct.
That's right.
Were you both born in Nicosia, yes?
Yes, we were.
And your parents are Cypriots. Where are your parents from originally? Nicosia again, or?
No, my father is, or our father is from Poli, Paphos.
Ah.
And our mother was born on Amiantos, Trodos, but lived in Gemikono and then in Lefkoşa as well. So
Excellent.
like us.
Brilliant. So you were brought up in Nicosia.
Correct.
But I think you had a special home, didn't you? Can you tell us a bit about where you grew up?
We grew up in a place called Government House in the British colony times from 1950 till 1960, let's call it, because after 1960, when the Republic of Cyprus was declared, we left in 1962 from there. But we grew up in a place called British Government House, which was the house of the governor, the British governor. And we remember the last two governors. We had a house in the palace grounds. It had something like 200-300 acres of land or donums of land. And our father was responsible in upkeep of all the gardens and the orchards and the people who worked there to upkeep them. He was supervisor of the gardens. So we grew up running around those gardens and around the palace grounds, which we still remember very well, very vividly, which is part of our nostalgic, I guess, thinking and memories of our childhood, let's call it. And
so the governor's house, what is it now?
It's in Strovolos, and currently is presidential palace of Mr. Anastasiadis, isn't it? So it's the dome building that you sometimes see on news, I guess.
The White House of Cyprus?
Yes, it's made out of sandstone, obviously, because the walls are the yellow sandstone, and the dome on top of it is white, yes. The White House of Cyprus, yes, correct.
Is a good name for that. So a nice childhood. As I said, you are here on holiday from Melbourne, Australia.
Correct.
So when did you go to Melbourne? How old were you when you left Cyprus?
I left Cyprus when I was 19 and as a young man. And I left because our father said to me, look, I'm sending you to Australia because there's no life here in Nicosia for us or Cyprus. Go to Australia, work hard, and bring your brother and sister to Australia as well. And that was the deal that I left with, and it was the first time I got on a plane and left Cyprus as a 19-year-old.
19-year-old, okay, let's tell us your age. So you are actually, what year was this then when you left at 19?
1971.
In 71?
Yes, correct.
The year that I was born.
Correct.
There you are, so now you can work out my age as well. So in 1971, just before the peace operation, you went to Australia.
Correct.
By yourself.
Correct, that's right.
And then a couple of years later, your brother Eren
Yes.
and your sister
Tülen
joined you.
joined me. They came to Australia and got together with me, and yeah, we started living together as a family again. Yes, correct.
Brilliant. So, Eren, let's pick it up from there then. So your older brother, only by maybe a few months maybe, or I don't know, I'm not going to say how old you all are.
Let me put this Fred. He is 3 years older than me, and he looks older than me, I think. Now, let me pick up where he left. We left Cyprus on simply as there was no future for our generation to be here, unfortunately, as the, political sort of turmoil of Cyprus. As you all know, it's not only started in '74, but it started well before that.
Yes.
However, that's a different aspect of it. But talk about us. We left us Cyprus, and quite strong with strong heart, with a big heart or a strong feeling, leaving Cyprus to go in a country that is unknown to us. Our sort of memories of that, landing in Australia, getting out of the airport, first question was asked to me was, do you speak English? When I landed by the custom officers, and I of course I learned English in Cyprus, but it was never in practice. It was always in from book sort of text. Yeah. And of course, when I landed with an accent, Australian accent was kind of a little bit different to English accent. And when he asked me, do you speak English? I heard the lady before me saying, little bit. And I thought that must be the answer they want because they let her go through. So I said, yes, little bit. So as I walked out, I said, okay, you go. So off I went, and a grumpy old man he was. I remember him well too. And as I walked out, I saw my sister waving crazily and so on. I was happy to see me, of course, and my brother that I haven't seen for a year or two. So it was a great reunion for us. And off we went from there on. We landed in Melbourne, obviously. We traveled to where we were living, my brother and sister were living. It was sort of a bit of a culture shock.
It must have been.
Oh, good God. It was a kind of a ordeal to fly so long and, firstly landed somewhere, Abu Dhabi, I think it was, then landed in Singapore. And experiences were amazing to remember and to relive. Every time I talk about it, I relive them. However, when I got here, obviously my brother been here a couple years, and him and my sister, which got here before me, they had a little flat that we shared, and it was great times, of course. But everything was so different. The birds were different, trees were different, the smells were different, trams, markets, and people, the way they spoke, and so forth. And I picked up from there.
I mean, you were used to the the jasmine smells of Nova Scotia, and you went to the eucalyptus trees of Australia.
Very
ever.
True.
It was, there was no more jasmine, smell of jasmine, neither there was chirping birds. I mean, there was a lot of birds, I must admit. There were a lot more birds and a lot more trees in Australia than there would be in Australia, trust me.
Can I ask, why were you not sent, but why did they offer you to go to Australia and not somewhere closer? Because a lot of, I know there are lots of Turkish Cypriots and Greek Cypriots living in England, in America, in Australia, but what was the connection with Australia in particular?
Okay. A relative of ours who was a first cousin actually, that actually went to Australia in 1949. Came visiting in Cyprus at the time, and he was corresponding with our father, who was his uncle. Our father was the uncle of our cousin. Yeah. And when he came to Cyprus in 1970, I think it was, he contacted our father, and our father went and saw him. We didn't see him. And my father said to him, I have, 3 children. The older one is 19 now, and would you like to, help us to get out of Cyprus and help my son to, or sponsor my son to come to Australia? So my cousin said yes, and actually on the day he was leaving to go to Australia, my father took us to the old International Cyprus Airport, and we met this cousin for the first time ever.
In your life?
In my life, in Aaron's life. And he said, is this the son you want to, you want me to help to come to Australia? My father said yes, and we shook hands,
And he went.
And he left. And within a couple of weeks, a sponsorship form came, we filled it in, we sent it back, and within a matter of a couple of months, Australian embassy was very, very fast in promoting Australia and getting people to come to Australia.
And
at that
off
time,
you
they
went.
wanted people in Australia.
We were fast-tracked. We were really
Yeah,
fast.
we were really fast-tracked.
We were fast-tracked to go to Australia for some reason or another. I'm sure there was a bit of a sort of
Maybe it was
political
political to get people, Turkish people out of Cyprus as fast as they can, because we heard other stories when we got there that even the church paid for some people's tickets to go there. And I remember after my interviews with Australian embassy people, they liked me very much because I went to English college, used to be English college, now it's called Türk Marif College. Because I knew English, they were very happy to accept me, and within a matter of a week, they sent a letter to say, "Oh, you got a visa to go to Australia." And my father went and bought the ticket straight away the next day, and the day after that, I was on the plane.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
History,
Yes.
correct.
Speaking of history, now,
Yes.
one of the reasons why we are here together today, and a big thank you to Chris Elliott from CyprusScene.com website, which is very, very into promoting people who have connections with Cyprus around the world, and Chris has kindly brought you guys in today, is because really the history is what's behind Frozen Cypriots, which is a Facebook page that you guys are behind, and which I'm sure a lot of people have seen, those on Facebook. And this is what I love about technology today. So if you have your smartphone or your iPad or your tablet or your computer, look at Frozen Cypriots. And the idea of Frozen Cypriots came from Facebook friend from Lapitos. As we were chatting about Lapitos, he describes people like us trapped in the past, beauty of nostalgic, retro, or any other times of Cyprus, and its turbulent past are simply Frozen Cypriots. This group is open to anyone friendly. It's suited to people who live away from Cyprus and have nostalgic attachments to Cyprus. Feel free to chat and upload your pictures. English is the main language. Turkish and Greek are welcomed as long as they get translated into English. And so really, it's a bit about nostalgia. So can you say, guys, that after all these years of being in Australia, you still miss Cyprus?
Of course
Yes,
we
very
do.
much so.
Of course we do. I think nostalgia of Cyprus, and of course feeling. Of course we are Cypriot. No matter where you live, you never forget where you come from. I mean, one that forgets where they come from, and they forget their personalities and they are themselves together. Well, Frozen Cypriots, as you described, as you read that, I wrote that. It was just simply for people like us that live out of a country, away from Cyprus, that's still in love with it, and they still love to share the culture of it, the culture of Cyprus, and then a nostalgia of Cyprus. And this wasn't. It was a. How can I put it? It was a way to bring all this together by creating this Facebook site. And that actually worked quite well. It worked to my advantage. It worked to our advantage. And all these people suddenly appeared out of nowhere, whether they were Turkish, Greek, English, or Finnish, or Dutch, or from Holland, or from every part of the world. Suddenly, I didn't realize there were so many people that loved this little place, that they might have even traveled here for a holiday, or maybe they had quite an attachment to it through their relations or whatnot. It became a lot more sort of popular as we sort of went along, but it went like a wildfire, like a,
It caught on very, very quickly.
It grew suddenly, and it was to my surprise. I didn't expect it. I just wanted like-minded people to sort of share their nostalgia, their thoughts, and I was more interested in nostalgic photos of Cyprus and nostalgic occasions. But it became more than that. And now Frozen Cypriots not only became a photographic site, but we have loads of related stories, people's stories, and of course our own stories of the governor's house, or the way we left the country, or some of our Greek friends that talking about their village and how they lived alongside of one another and so forth. There's a lot of little stories, the marriages and so forth. All that sort of a reaction was brilliant. It is brilliant. So that aspect of it is very good, as well as it has a vast amount of photographs in album section. When you go to photo section of Frozen Cypriots, if you hit on the photos, it suddenly gives you the option of photos or albums. If you hit on albums, there is in albums you have thousands and thousands of old pictures, and not only just recent past, but well beyond that into 1800s.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's amazing. And we owe most of these old photos to Ismail Veli, which is another Frozen Cypriot and very active, very proactive member. And he's an admin as well as us. But overall, yes, this is the whole idea of Frozen Cypriots, to create a bridge between our communities in Cyprus, not only between Greeks and Turks, but between that everybody have been here that has to do with Cyprus. So that is really, that was my aim. That was my whole perspective, whole idea of it, to sort of bring it all together. What have we got to lose? Politics totally forbidden on this side, but it never stops people talking politics. Us Cypriots, we love talking. We love talking, have a coffee shop talk that everybody pretends to know everything, but it's all good, you know. You take it with a salt and grime, you know. You put it off, but we do get some hardcore political people in the side, but they find their way out themselves. They find their way out, and we sort of leave it as that.
There's no room for politics on
no, absolutely,
on Frozen Cypriots.
Absolutely none. We don't allow advertising, neither do we allow politics. It's just unnecessary. When you're talking about nostalgia, what has politics got to do with my nostalgia? I don't want to know about it. I don't want to know about the politics of Cyprus.
I want to ask you about Australia in particular with regards to your link to North Cyprus. Are you following? I know that our own BRTK news desk has an arrangement. I think we give you weekly news updates on a certain radio station or
special broadcasting service.
Yeah, special broadcasting.
We receive Bayrak streamline through the internet.
I know that there are lots of Greek and Turkish Cypriots in Australia, like there are in the UK. I mean, I'm from the UK, so I know the British background of what it's like to be a Cypriot in the UK. But when you were, as you are from Melbourne, is there a community of Cypriots out there that you meet regularly, you hold events? And tell us a bit about, the community out there.
Yes, there's approximately 10,000 to 15,000 Cypriots, but some people say 15 to 20,000. But I think in total, you can talk about 10,000 strong population in Melbourne of Turkish Cypriots. We have let's call it a club or an organization that's called North Cyprus Turkish Club or Community. They hold regular functions in the hall. There's a hall there, bigger, maybe 2 or 3 times bigger than this area here.
Studio.
I actually got very, very involved in the first 10 years that I was in Australia with the Melbourne Cyprus Turkish Club. It used to be called then. And I set up with some friends, of course, Melbourne Cyprus Turkish Youth Association, and then became president of the actual mother association, which was the Melbourne Cyprus Turkish Association, for 5 years. In that time, we put out a newspaper because we didn't have internet in 1980s. And I actually had a lot of contact with the governmental office here with Mr. Çağatay first, and then, of course, with Rauf Denktaş, Mr. Rauf Denktaş as well, in relation to our activities and the community there. So we had developed some of those ties with Cyprus, and in Melbourne, and actually we have a sister organization in Sydney as well, where there's again somewhere a bit less than Melbourne, because Melbourne has a larger population of Cypriot Turks than Sydney, that we communicate with. And these two organizations do run a lot of activities for, in terms of folkloric dancing, youth, aged people programs because we have a lot of aged people now that arrived in Australia in end of 1940s and 50s that are very old. Some of them are 80, 90 years old. And also women's organization within the Cyprus Cyprus Turkish organization. At the same time, of course, our relationship with the political aspect of Cyprus and Australian thinking about Cyprus also is managed by the organization. In terms of the Cyprus Turks, let's call, or Cyprus Turkish people in Australia, they spread all over Melbourne, okay? And it's the times that they come together could be through the organization or all the weddings that go on.
Yes. Weddings are a good place
dinner
to
dances
meet
that
everyone.
go on, and
Or any funerals,
yeah,
God forbid.
yeah. It's like the what was it, that movie, the
Four Weddings and a
four
Funeral.
weddings and a funeral.
Yeah.
It's like that a bit sometimes.
But there is a good community there, and you are following closely what's going on the islands.
Yes.
Obviously, being Cypriot yourself, you left your homeland, you want to find out what's happening. So it's good to know that. But really, what you guys are doing with Frozen Cypriots is keeping the old memories alive. The memories that you left Cyprus with back in the early 70s. Excuse me. So really, that's a very popular thing. As you say, somebody like Ismail Veli, who's got a great archive of photos of his village of Lorigina Akunjalad. I'm sure there are lots of people out there who would love to see old photographs of Cyprus.
Or themselves.
Remembering the villagers, village life. Do you think that's the most popular part of being a Frozen Cypriot, to share old memories?
Of course, it is becoming, I guess it's becoming a very popular platform, if you like. And what's more fascinating about it is the photographs that appear sometimes that no others have seen before, suddenly they find their own mothers or grandmothers or grandfathers and so forth. It's such an interesting thing, and we get buzz out of it. We do get really excited about it when somebody kind of links together.
Yeah.
What more? People, when they share their stories, like for example, I shared the story of my father, of him being in a British army as
Muleteer.
Okay, so when he went over, he served the British Army for 5 years, and I wrote some of his memories that we heard from him, and it came to life, and it was such a small write-up. Of course, our friend Chris Elliott picked up, which he normally does. And what happened with this scenario, I was talking about my father being in Italy and had a girlfriend, an Italian girlfriend, but however, it was a Hispanic Italian girlfriend, we believe, with the name that was given to us. And we believe she had a child, and a war child. And unfortunately, he was, right after that, he was sent to a different front. And what happened there, when he came back trying to find her, she disappeared. They couldn't find her. So we know we have a brother or sister, a sibling, somewhere in the world we don't know about. He is probably slightly, or she is probably slightly older than us. And this story went suddenly from, and I was just saying, when I actually said it on the post, whenever I look at this picture, I remember my dad telling me this story, and it's only my father as a soldier wearing a little cap and holding a little 303 weapon, taking photographs of. And suddenly it went sort of kind of little viral in the Facebook.
It went viral,
Yeah, and that actually, Serman and I, we started chasing it. And suddenly we find out, we didn't know he went to the war for 5 years. So 5 years, then he is owed so many medals. He served in Palestine, he served in Egypt, so did he serve in Italy. Suddenly we're starting to find his footsteps where he's been. He landed in Napoli. First it was Bari, and then it was Napoli, and so forth. It was such an interesting aspect of the Frozen Cypriot side to be able to tell a story, and suddenly, and other people picked up on it and wanted to help.
Yeah.
And we created a little, including Chris Elliott, we created a little sort of chat, sort of an inbox.
Chat book. Yeah.
Chat box. And we were sort of in sort of contact with us. Tina Cameron from England, from London, she immensely involved in that sort of thing, and she tried to help, and so, and we got somewhere, but not close enough. We're still sort of chasing
Still trying,
it.
yeah.
So you never know. You might have somebody, an older brother or sister out there.
Exactly.
Who knows? If you know, then get a contact. In contact with either Semen or Eren Erdogan. A very interesting story there. It could be a scenario for a film even, couldn't it? Really?
Well, there is another one which Sermen will tell the
yes,
story.
I know that there's a story that you have as well.
Yeah, well, we just today met. I just today met with my friends that were in what's called Higher Technical Institute, which has now become University of Cyprus. I was there for a year in a class. I was in the mechanical engineering section of the faculty of the institute, and I was one of the 3 students who were Turkish Cypriots there, and the rest were all Greek students. And I every time I came to Cyprus, I asked about these Greek students, because we had a little group of Greek friends that we used to muck around with and talk and even go out with, so forth. And I asked some Greek people, they said, oh yeah, we can find them, but it never happened. And all of a sudden, a friend from Frozen Cypriots, who was actually part of that at the time, put a picture up. And in that picture was my classmate, and that particular group that I was friendly with. And I wrote back to him, I said, ask these people if they were in the Higher Technical Institute in 1971. And he said, I don't have to ask them, because I was there too. And this friend, I said, oh, which one are you? And he told me, because I couldn't recognize his picture, his current picture of how he is, to when he was young. And I said, oh yeah, I remember you now. And they said, oh, Sermen, we all wondered where you are, because we knew you went to Australia, but we didn't know if you come back. And we met this morning for the first time after 45 years.
That must have been a very emotional,
it was.
good time.
And my brother and I went to Buchan, and they came there, and we met, and we had a 2-hour get together.
It's
and
amazing.
Had
It's amazing.
chatted about those times, and they're going to come to the 6th of October to the Frozen Cypriots gathering at Buchan.
Yes, we'll talk about that towards the end of the interview. We've got a special event coming up for all you members of the Frozen Cypriots. But in the group now, you have probably lots of members from different parts of the world.
Correct.
Not just Turkish and Greek Cypriots, but British, as you said, all around.
That's right.
Although, probably a handful of you are more active than others.
Of
it's
course.
not good enough just to be a member. You have to make some posts and stuff. But it must have been a very rewarding thing to see all these people reacting to what you had just made, one little page, create a page, and that's it.
Yes, that's
From
correct.
there, here you are now, in North Cyprus, hopefully soon to meet some other members who you probably never met before. But the aim is to share stories, but did you ever think it would get so big like this?
Well, I guess not. I guess it wasn't, to be truthful, it wasn't my aim for it to be so big, but I look at it differently. I think numbers don't really mean much. I think interaction of people are more important, and sharing those memories and sharing nostalgia of Cyprus. My love to Cyprus is immense. And I was fulfilled. I was fulfilled by people's reactions more than the numbers. Numbers don't really mean much, whether it's how much money you might have in the bank. Oh, that does matter. But however, age or perhaps even the number of your telephone number. It just numbers
or
don't
even
mean
the
much.
6,300 members that you have on
Correct.
your Facebook page. It doesn't matter.
It's only number.
It's only numbers, but everyone has that strong connection with Cyprus. I mean,
Of course.
now that I live here, I mean, I've been here for 22 years, so, you know, I'm loving living on the island. But if I
Yes.
was away, maybe I'd be, you know, joining your page to find out more about the island again. But people come together because they miss Cyprus. They love.
course,
Once
of
you have been here, you fall in love with the island. You miss the old days. However, wherever you are in the world, whether you are in Melbourne, whether you are in London, whether you are in New York, it doesn't matter where you are. If you have lived on the island or been on the island, you have that love for it here. When was the last time you guys were here on the island before this visit?
I was here 2007 or 2008, I think.
2007.
Yeah. I gave it a big break because obviously I have a family, I have children, and of course at the crucial stage of their life, schooling life, university life. So you can't unlodge yourself and come back to holiday. So our holiday was a lot lesser then. Now they're becoming more regular as we're getting more mature in our age.
Yeah.
Of course, that's roughly about 35 now that I am. And well, perhaps now that we have more time with my lovely wife and myself, we're able to travel, not only Cyprus, but around the world, of course. Yep.
So when you come back and you come to Nicosia,
Yes.
when you walk around the old, I mean, I heard you talking to Denise, my colleague, about Bandabulya,
Yes.
the old market, which obviously was restored not too long ago. It might have changed for the better or for the worse, that's your opinion.
Yes, of
But
course.
do you walk around and do you bring back memories alive?
Yes,
Very much
yes,
so.
definitely. Look, I was one of those children that actually grew up around Bandabulya, Asmaaltu or Arasta, which is the streets that cross one another around that area. That, of course, we were. How can I put it? We were enclaves basically. We had no other place to go. So that's where our playground was, whether it was a market or whatever, top of the bastions of the, or below the bastions, that was the only place we had to play. We had no other means.
Yeah.
However, talking about, I am a Nicosian. Yes, our fathers come from Paphos, Poli. We can be Bafidis if you call us. We accept that too, but we were grown and played around Nicosia. So we know every corner, we know every little crack on the footpath or on the road. We knew it, I knew it. And I still remember their names and who made the best ayran that was front of the courthouses. That was a man called, I have to talk about him. I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind. His name was Asaf Arab. God bless his soul, he's passed away. He made the best ayran in summer. And
Across from the old post office.
Right
where
front of the old
radio
post
was.
office, opposite, of course. And he was squeezing fresh
Orange juice.
pomegranates and orange juice.
Ah.
It was magnificent. And when I had a meeting with your colleague, Engin, I was talking to him about it, and because I got myself so much into trying to tell him these stories, my stories, that I worked around there. As a kid, as a little apprentice, if you like, as a little helper, I choked up. I got so emotional because I felt it. I still feel it. It's still in there. You cannot get rid of it. It's always stays within you till you go to the other world, if there is one. So, but talking about Bandabulya, Arasta, I moved from being a little apprentice barber to a Chirakli, which is still there today, and a barber shop was there, still there too. But they're getting old, of course, but Chirakli still, his son is there. I walked in there and I tried to tell him who I was, and he said, yeah, I remember a name like that. He said, but it's great to be remembered and so forth. Smells of the place and all the horse and buggies running up and down the street and so forth, so forth. But all that changed, of course, and we can't expect things to stay the same. However, Lefkosia still will stay Lefkosia, and hopefully one day governments or people that live here will renovate or bring it back to life. And I think on north side of the divide, if you like, north side of this Nicosia, I think those buildings, thankfully they didn't have the money to knock them down to put up big high rises.
Yeah.
They're still there, and I'm hoping, like, I'm praying for it, that they will be, I'm sure they will be somewhere along the line, be renovated, and most of it is, some of it is done, like Arab Ahmed, or other pockets of it is getting all done. And I'm so happy to see that, and I hope that it'll continue on.
I hope so too. I'm assuming that your children and grandchildren, I know that you have grandchildren, were born in Australia.
Correct.
So when they see now, you know, frozen Cypriots and the photographs and the memories you share, I mean, what do they think? I mean, are they interested in Cyprus as much as you are?
Obviously, our children are very interested. They have been here. I come a little bit more often than Eren has because my children are older than Eren's. You know, every single day, of course, when we're talking, we do talk about Cyprus. I mean, every single day, I read all the newspapers, whether it's Kypros Postası or it's Cyprus Mail.
Yeah.
So, being in another country doesn't make us forget about Cyprus because, as Eren explained, the feeling of love of Cyprus is there, it doesn't live here. So our children grow up in terms of understanding that, you know, their parents came from Cyprus and they're Turkish background, let's call it. They see a lot of pictures. We have a lot of pictures around the house, as well as they
Bits
see
and
the
pieces.
frozen Cypriot photography as well. One of my son is very, very interested in Cyprus as well, and the daughter is very interested as well. And they always talk about coming back and building a house here because we have some property that, you know, is just laying idle, unfortunately, since we have left.
Yeah.
But in terms of the what has changed or what hasn't changed, of course, it has changed a lot in terms of people in Nicosia or people around
Of course,
Cyprus.
I mean, you know, you've been away,
We've been away 45 years
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Although, as I said, we have, you know, come often and gone
But
back,
still, it's-
visiting as a tourist,
Yeah, as a tourist,
if you
you
like.
can see the changes
But-
more than we can.
Exactly. And we can see the difference as you know, the years went by. But that nostalgic feeling of Nicosia, I think, is still there, because I was talking to these Greek friends this morning, and they said that our side, the north side of Nicosia, has a lot more to offer in terms of
Nostalgia.
older buildings, more
What they remember.
yes,
Historical architecture.
architecture, and they love it too, because they said their side has been built out and built up with apartments and high rises. And I think, as Eren pointed out, I think Nicosia has a lot of, North Nicosia has a lot of potential in tourism if it's tidied up. You know, I hope it does get tidied up, and there's still a lot of nice, very nice buildings standing up.
Yeah, definitely.
Although they're old and some, you can see that they're not being looked after. If these old houses, the Ottoman houses especially, or the Lusignan house that's been renovated, is very interesting. It could be a tourist attraction for the Western people of Europeans, or even, you know, the Eastern people from, you know, China and Japan and all them places. Because through our page, we are discovering, we're researching into, you know, different sorts of things. One of the things that I think I mentioned with Denise is a photograph that our mother brought to Australia, and it's a picture from 1936 of a school children or a class and underneath it's got Shakespeare School. And we thought, well, what was Shakespeare School? We asked Mum, and she said, oh, it was a school where, you know, you could learn English. So all of a sudden there was another picture that came up about of a building that they said that was Shakespeare School in Iradi Sokak, across from the Selimiye Mosque. And Necmi Sagıp Bodamyalızade was the principal there, there was a man that set up that school. So I looked and researched into Necmi Sagıp Bodamyalızade, and I found he was a very interesting man. It was, you know, I translated the story into English, his story, and put our mother's,
Attachment to it.
life there. And it wasn't just our mother, but her sister was going there as well.
Yeah.
And out of that picture came a story.
A massive story.
A massive story.
Fantastic.
And people wrote in and identified every single student in 1936.
Wow.
And interestingly,
80 years ago. 1980,
yes,
about 80 years
yes.
ago. A photograph of
And
people
no
could still...
one knew, they said, no, we didn't even knew there was a Shakespeare school in Cyprus.
I never knew either. We learned that now.
Yes. And this school was a school where girls and boys went to.
Co-ed.
It was a co-ed school.
In 1936.
Because I went to school, I started school, and it was boys' school and
And
girls'
girls'
school.
school.
You couldn't mix them. The only time we mixed was in the 6th grade in 1963, and that didn't go very long, of course, after the 1963 incidences
Yeah.
or problems started. But that school became very popular because Necmi Sagıp Bodamyalızade added a high school to it and taught people in English, all the subjects in English. And they said for what was called the General Certificate of Education, the GCE exams, which is called now something different now, VGCE or something like that. AGCE.
Yeah.
And they were the entrance exams for University of London. And they passed their O-levels there. So it attracted Greek students and Armenian students to it as well. So it was a multinational school before the English school started and before the American Academy started. It only closed down in 1952 once the English school was set up and the American college academy was set up. So it was the very first multilingual, multinational school in Cyprus.
So the Frozen Cypriot site really has brought to
these
life many
stories.
things.
Yes.
We're going to end the interview now by talking about, very briefly, the forthcoming reunion or meeting you're going to have now. Because I know on the 6th of October, which is on Thursday, you have at the Büyükhan, the great inn in Lefkoşa, a meeting at about 5 p.m. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. Büyükhan will shut their doors to public around about 5 o'clock to accommodate the Frozen Cypriots gathering. There'll be sort of people that we never seen before, but we connected through the Facebook, and hopefully we see most of them. But obviously, most of them live overseas, as the site says it itself. I mean, it's suited to people that live away from Cyprus, and there's a lot of expats that live here, and a lot of people that sort of in contact with this site will be coming to it. We're looking forward to meeting them, of course, and it'll be exciting personally. It'd be very exciting for me to meet them in person, and every day I seem to bump into somebody. They saying to me, "Oh, I know you," and I say, "Oh, do you?" And then they introduce themselves, and so forth. So it's brilliant. It's nice to see that. Yes, we are going to have our get together there, and I'm hoping many people out there that will make it up to this date. It'll be great. You won't be disappointed. They'll be on offer a Turkish, Cypriot plate with börex or with köfte or with whatever, a plate which merely going to cost very, very small price, and you can buy all you can drink from the bar. I'm not paying for your drink, neither for your food. So.
But there'll be some live music, maybe.
Hopefully, we're
folk
trying.
dancing.
We're trying
Yes.
very hard to the Lefkosha Belediye, which is Lefkosha municipality band. We sort of asking them, hopefully, that they will offer their services there, which there was one day today, and it was amazing. They were brilliant. So we're hoping to get them there on the night, and if not, then we will play music on PA system.
And it'll be international music.
It'll
by
be
the
international music.
Lefkosha Belediye music band.
They're
yes.
playing brilliant music.
And I know that invitations have gone out to the members, I think,
Yes.
haven't they?
Yes, correct.
Via social media.
Yes.
So that's 5 p.m. on October the 6th, which is a Thursday. If you are in the area and if you are interested in meeting Eren and Selim'in, two of the men behind Frozen Cypriots, then go along to the meeting. I'm sure they'll be happy to meet you. And I know that you are here until the end of October, aren't you?
Correct.
So if you can't make it to that meeting, but you want to still meet with these guys, then maybe send a message via Facebook, and they can maybe meet you somewhere like the Buchanan in Lefkosha or somewhere else in the TRNC. But I want to say thank you very much for coming down to Lefkosha today, spending time with us, enlightening us about your lives, very interesting lives that you've got. I hope that you keep on going with Frozen Cypriot. It's very interesting to follow what you're doing on Facebook, but thank you for your time and your efforts. And I hope that your reunion or your meeting goes well on Thursday. And send my love back to everyone in Australia when you go back. And hopefully see you again soon here in North Cyprus.
Thank
You're
you for
very
having
welcome.
us. Thank
You're
you for
very
having us.
welcome, Jeff.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a
No
lot.
worries. Thank you.
And with that, we've come to the end of this very interesting interview with Eren and Selim'in Erdogan, all the way from Melbourne, Australia, here in North Cyprus, members or the founders, administrators of Frozen Cypriots on Facebook. If you're not already a member, join and find out more about the beauty of the island of Cyprus. Until we meet again on another cup of conversation, have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.